Hey guys, what's going on? Derek Jones here. I'm going to be doing a video of the process I use to make the PWM boards from start to finish. Everybody has their own tricks of the trade. Might have better ideas. I also got some outside help as far as making screens. If I put that in with this video, most of what I do, I can buy the film off of eBay. I work for a company that does screen printing, so to speak, and so I do have access to that. I might be showing that, like I said, a little bit later on, but for this process, everything will be done for using dry film photoresist, which is negative base. You can buy positive base, but because I can buy this film off of eBay for the negative, there's a little bit extra processes. The positive photoresist, you'll buy the boards that already have the matting on it. For some reason, a couple manufacturers don't release this film. It is an easier process, but I found a different way to do things I need to, and it works well for me. So next process, we'll go down to the table. I'll show you how to prep the surfaces and do what we have to do for the exposure process. Okay? Alright, now that we're back down to the table, a few of the supplies you're going to need for this part of it is copper-sided board. You can buy single or double-sided. Depends on how intricate you want to make your circuit. For this one, I wanted to make it as clean as possible. Unfortunately for me, all I have is double-sided copper. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut it down. If you're just going to be doing one, I'll be doing bigger layouts later. But I have my image here and my copper piece. Now you do want it a little bit bigger for your first process until you really want to get it cut down to size. But just for this example, I'm doing a little bit bigger pieces. That's what I had laying around. What you're going to do, as you can see, I got that terrible glare right there. You're going to get to the size that you want. Take a file, sand down all your edges, all sides. Round off your corners too. Helps. And your finest grit sandpaper. I have 400 sitting here, so I'm just gonna go back down here and just the PCB boards, what is it? RF4 boards have a protective coating on it to keep it from oxidizing. So just a little bit of sandpaper. You don't have to do a whole lot. Just enough. Try and keep my prep surface clean. I would suggest you use rubber vinyl gloves when you do this, just so your oils don't come creeping back up on the board, as you'll see. But you can do this. You don't have to have gloves on right away for this part. But when you go to, right before we go to put the film on here, we're going to be using rubbing alcohol just to make sure it is clean of any oils, so we have a good adhesion in between both layers. Okay, I'm going to go get cleaned up and we'll get a little bit further on. Okay, so now I'm going to be cleaning the pieces up. Right now I'm using MEK. This guy's, I have access to it and it works really good at taking just about anything off. And it dries really quick. And use gloves. Like I said, you don't want any oils on this whatsoever. I forgot to mention, because this is the first round in compressing the image from what my original design was, I'm doing one that's going to be hopefully cutting down less time by leaving a lot more copper on the board, as opposed to trying to etch all the black stuff off. So I'll be testing both boards right along with you guys. So if I seem jittery, it's because I really am not that well of a presenter speaker. One of the reasons why I fail as a DJ. So we're going to be moving on to the next step of the photoresist film. Now for this part, I will be cutting over to a yellow light, just because it is light sensitive. I could probably get away with it using regular fluorescent bulbs, but just to show you to do it the right way, we're going to be using yellow light. So let me flip back over and get prepped for the next step, okay? Alright, back down to the table. Now you can't see it right now, but this film is transparent. It's got a purplish blue tint to it. Very, very clear. You want to cut it down to the size with a little bit of overhang. I'm doing 2 pieces, so luckily I had a piece already pre-cut for these 2 boards. You can see I got enough film to do me for a while. So I'm going to cut this up. You're also going to want to have an iron ready for you next. Okay, cut that. Now, on your iron, you're going to want it set up to roughly about a 3. Just before you hit the standard steam functions, you want a good heat, but not a whole lot. And as you can see, that's how dark this will come out once it's actually exposed. Let me get some tape real quick. I know, not prepared. Story of my life. You want some masking tape or Scotch tape. Scotch tape works easier, but like most things, I can't find it right now. She's ready. There's 2 sides. There's a top and bottom coating that's sitting on here. Take a little bit of tape, stick it on the corner, and try to peel it away. This almost feels like it's impossible sometimes, but you'll get the hang of it. This is why I like Scotch tape better. Scotch tape really, for some reason, just really grabs a hold of that polyester coating. You might see me cut this down in editing just because of aggravation. Ah, there we go. There's one. Like I said, nice clean prep board. Just gonna lay this down here on top of it in a uniform fashion. You want to apply pressure. You don't want any air bubbles. You can always use a credit card or a card, any card, doesn't matter. Anything. To compress it down, and if you do have any air bubbles, try and work them out. So in our next step, it's really gonna help bond with this. Okay, that one's done. Try and cut any excess you'll have off right away. My iron's on the same circuit my light's on, so that's why you'll see it fluctuate. It's not your eyes. And there's the other code. You have access to a hot stamping roller at your facility. This is also a good place to do it too. Hey, you almost get 0 bubbles and you got heat bonding right away too. So alright. Now that we have that, what you're gonna want now, that's bonded to it. Oh well. No problems. You're going to want to tape your image. Okay, damn it. Now I got to find my Scotch tape for this part. I'm sorry. No, I don't. You're going to want to take your circuits or your boards that you've just prepped, put them on here. I use a piece of Nilla foldering just to help keep the heat off of each. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put these closer, that way I can apply even pressure. Okay. Okay. I'm going to apply nice even pressure for about 30 seconds. Sorry about that video getting cut short. All I did is just let the board, after I heat pressed it on there, just let it set and cool down. I'm going to go back down. We're going to show you how to set your images on the PCBs, and we'll head on to the next step after that. So instead of just cutting loose, I'm just going to shoot on down. Okay. Okay. It's always good to have a nice utility knife or nice sharp razor blade by your side too for this. You can see I have a lot of, you might be able, yeah, a lot of excess material on this board, but you can always cut down. It's always better to have more than not enough, and that's what she said. Now, God, it's so hard to get this tape off. I should have had this prep before I started, but oh well. Shit happens. You want to keep, now this is the part you want to try and keep everything as clean as possible. Because if you have any dirt or anything underneath your exposure, it's going to show. And it can be in that trace and it'll screw you up. And right now all I'm doing is taping the film down. Now I typically use just pressure from the glass, but just to make sure this puppy's all nice and tight, I'm putting it on the PCB this time. Good piece of, if you find somebody that's got an old Xerox scanner or a scanner, take that glass out. It's nice heavy weight. Like I said, I'll have added pressure from the glass once I get this done. It doesn't take much really. Not a whole lot. That was a bit of an overkill in that first one. There we go. Trim the excess. Trim excess. Okay, as you can see, we have our two PCBs ready to go for imaging. Alright. Gonna head on over. I'm gonna set up for the UV box and go from there. Be back in a sec. Onto the UV imaging process of this. You can use an incandescent light that's basically like a little desk lamp that's got enough power, probably around 60 watts or maybe 100. I've never played with that, but there are, check YouTube. They got plenty of sites that will show you, or videos that will show you exactly how their process is. I went for broke when I first started doing this. I was like, I have a total of 8 1-watt UV LEDs, as close to as pure UV as I could. And, there's 4 of those puppies down there, and I got one on top and bottom, so I can both do double-sided PCBs. Am I professional? No. So don't ask. I just like to do shit. Okay? So I'm going to turn my light off. Damn final gloves. Okay, I'm going to camera down. Okay. We're going to take both of our images, making sure they're clean. They look good. Piece of tape off. And this is where I said, nice piece of. Now, sapphire glass is really the best stuff to use because it has the clearest of imaging. But so far, this has worked perfect for me. As close to center as I can. That way the intensity is as best as it can be. Images are the right way. Okay. Now I do this for 12 minutes. That's going to give a good burn image. I could probably do less, but I really like to make sure I get a nice good image transfer on this. The higher wattage of LEDs you use, or the more amount that you use on a focused area, you can reduce your time, but I usually do anywhere between 10 to 12 minutes and check it once your time's up. So I'm going to turn these on and set my timer for 12 minutes, and we'll be back to show you the rest of this process. Right now we're going to be prepping while our PCBs cook in the UV oven, so to speak. We're going to set up for our water bath. Now, this development for doing negative PCBs using sodium carbonate, it's almost 100% soda ash. You can get your supplies from a local pool store, and you can also pick them up on, I buy mine from Due to Diesel. They supply a lot of stuff that's cheap too. And the formula for this is 1 gram per 100 milliliters. So right now I got, just because I want to make sure I got enough water bath for this, 250 milliliters. You want to use warm water, helps dissolve this the best. I also forgot to tell you, you also want to, as you can see, I added it, you want to keep a fresh water bath right here with you as well. And I'm going to measure up since I have 250 milliliters sitting in this bath, I'm going to mix up measure out 2.5 grams. Make sure to zero out your scale, that way you're getting a nice accurate reading. We're going to do 2.5 grams. This scale's a little bit on the annoying side. .5. Golden. Mix it in there. This stuff isn't really that harsh. You can go glove free for it, but you are going to want to, because it leaves like a film on your hand. So I'm going to throw in another pair of gloves real quick. We'll get this mixed up real quick. You don't want any, you want to make sure it all gets dissolved. Okay. I'll be right back with the boards. As you can see, well, you couldn't tell by the previous images, but you see how it's turned dark purple? That means our photoreactive material has done its job. So now we need to develop it. You can see there's our image, and there's a layer that just came off with the other piece of imaging, so I'm going to stick it in there real quick. One good thing about this tape. There we go. Ooh, that one doesn't look like fun. And I'm just going to wash it back and forth. I'm going to do this for about, I think it's about 3 minutes or so. You'll start seeing where what's kind of like a light blue, like the original film, starts washing away. That means the developer's taking its time and etching away the material. You don't want to overwash it, overdevelop it, because what will happen is everything that was dark blue will start washing away. Just kind of starts lifting off the boards, and that's no go. The other thing you can do, get you some handy dandy cotton swabs. So it takes about 3 minutes or so. You kind of just know after a while how far you are along in the process. Help wash this off. You can underdevelop, or which is better, because you can always put it back in the bath, but you can't go back once you've overdeveloped it. And I don't like the looks of this one. It might work. I'm gonna try and get in all those traces. Scrub in, make sure it's all nice and clean, because the next process we're going to be removing that copper out. I like the way this one came out. I don't know about this one. Try to get a good shot with the light being in the shadow. Spin it around. I'm going to pause, get my next setup ready, and we'll go from there for the etching. Now on for the etching part. For the etching part, you're going to be using a 2-to-1 ratio. 2 parts of regular hydrogen peroxide. The higher the better on percentage. And go to Lowe's or Home Depot and pick up some muriatic acid. This is the bad part of this process. This shit just as mean as possible, okay? You're definitely going to want gloves for this. It is very mean. You want well-ventilated area to work this process in. But yeah, here, we'll do the bath. You're going to want to add your peroxide first. I have another bottle. Hold on a second. You can always go to Radio Shack also for this process and just pick up some ferric chloride. But that color does not come off. Actually, matter of fact, this color doesn't come off either. So wear scrub clothes. Shit you don't care about. One. Two. Hopefully this peroxide's still good. And as always, keep it away from pets, kids, and your wife. Unless you want to get rid of her. Like I said, this shit gets nasty. Okay, take our boards. This is known as a copper culprit etchant bath. It's nasty. You're going to start, as the etching process takes place, you're going to start noticing that your etchant bath starts turning green. It's from the acidic nature of this, where it just reacts with the copper and just starts etching away. Like I said, you are going to want gloves and well ventilation for this. The other thing you don't want is a whole lot of bubbles. This process, if you're doing a single-sided board, it's also, I have to etch both sides. So the copper's got to flow, or the fluid's got to move. So doesn't take super long, unless, and that's why I was trying to do a process where I had less to etch, because it means it's less time in the bath and less time it has to over etch. So if you have real small lines, it will probably eat away your pads. And like I said, I'm kind of scared on this one. I think I need to beef up my lines on the negative flip of this. You'll probably see me, I might fast forward just a little bit. Just keep working your solution back and forth. Wave machine would be awesome for this. I usually keep these jars around and just put it in there and just shake it. But bubbles are not your friend on this process, by the way. It keeps the fluid from reacting with the copper. And this shit just about etches anything. I don't know what you can see. Bath is slightly turning green now. Every once in a while, if you got stuff you can accelerate it by going in here and touching up with your finger or good old-fashioned Q-tip. Helps keep the traces clean. Allows for the etchant to get into the next layer. I might be surprised if this one comes out. This is by no means a perfect process. You will find you will fail. So sit back, drink another beer, and repeat the process until you start finally getting the results you want.
Okay, that's it for my part of the show. Next up, we have the special guest mix from Type 41. Type 41, whose real name is George Phillips, is a key exclusive Abora artist, and he's the host of the Digital Euphoria show. He lives near Atlanta in the United States.
this peroxide was fresh.
Hi, I'm Type 41, and this is my guest mix for uplifting only. Enjoy.
The fresher the peroxide, the better. There's that new stuff. I'm gonna turn the heat up a bit. We're almost down to the fiberglass board on this. Starting to see it peek through. Sponge works really well for this process too. And a beer. Definitely beer. And a good vape. I'm gonna let these soak a bit, do their job. Cheers. This is why I say it's better if you know you're doing a single-sided board, definitely, because you can concentrate better on your traces instead of having to flip it over and try and remove this excess copper. And the only reason I'm trying to remove it is because if depending on which way you want the resistor or the potentiometer, it's going to affect, just in case your two contacts, if you have the excess copper, you don't want that being on there. You want everything being directly where your circuits are. The only thing about a weak batch of etchant is it can take a while, but you might see a little bit better results too, as far as it won't power etch and eat the hell out of everything right away. And there's only 3 holes I gotta drill on this board, and that's for the potentiometer. Everything else is surface mount. You don't want to be too abrasive, because what you'll do is you'll end up pushing the etchant into a trace, and it'll start etching underneath the your pattern, and then everything you just did is useless. You can patch it with solder, but considering how thin of traces I did with this, because the package size on the Hex-Schmidt trigger is rather small, and my lines had to be very tight and to keep everything as clean as I could. Almost done with the copper on that backside. I'm not so concerned with the side pieces, but or the outside of the board as I am the inside. Good thing to have is like a dental pick to get in there and really clean out the traces in case it didn't etch all the way through. Usually this gets, like I said, that peroxide I think was a little weak, because this gets warm and it feels cold. All the copper's gone on that side. Just a little. That's the pattern. Wow. Yeah, I don't think this one's gonna work the way I want it to. I'll have to rework this. Yeah, I'm eating the pads. All my pads are gone. That board's shot. I'm not gonna waste any more time with that. This one still has promise. This is almost identical to the previous board I did. And this is for a parallel series, or yeah, parallel setup. I'm just gonna let that in there and let that eat into the traces a little bit. Sometimes your lower grade copper boards, there's some oxidants in there that just don't want to come off, and that's due to cheaper quality copper. Definitely the higher grade boards, I mean, it definitely gets right in there where you want it to. Just gonna let this sit. My traces are pretty heavy on here, so I'm not really too worried about over etching, but I definitely want to help it along in the process. So, wash my fingers off real quick. I'm gonna get my little pick. Well, I can't find it, so just gonna get in here. The perineal nose. Try and get this copper out of here. Try not to mar too much of what you got going on your traces. Matter of fact, I'm just going to shut this off for a second. Okay.
Because you deserve more.
As you can see, I finally got everything cleaned up. Looks real good. I'm not worried about the stuff on the sides. It's outside the frame. But you don't want any leftover copper. Well, I'm doing this backwards. Left in between traces. As far as removal, there are ways to get rid of this. It is kind of an environmental thing, but it also works well at killing weeds. I use it to kill weeds. Okay. Maybe I'll find a link and post it down below. But I'm going to get rid of this because the longer, if you have this set out, you can put a lid on it and close it up. There is a way to reactivate this. I have not been successful at doing it. So I'm going to get this out, rinse it off, because if you have anything metallic near this, the vapors alone will start etching your metals. So, you know, just be cautious. If you are going to keep it around, the vapor will etch metal, and just about any metal. So I'm going to go to the next part, which will be removing all the excess material around, and I'll probably I might just cut it down in between and just remove the material, so you can get a close-up look, and good to go. Alright, be right back. Alright, for this process, use some solvent once you get the board cut down a little bit, that way you don't have to work so much to try and get it cleaned up. I gotta move pretty fast because my battery's about to die. Take acetone or MEK, scrub real hard, get it nice and cleaned up. Comes off pretty easily, not too bad. You can also use a positive, which is a positive developer, which is caustic soda or lye. I was able to find that at Ace Hardware, or not Ace, Weavers. Is it Weavers? No, it was Ace Hardware, but just out in bumblefuck because they use it for making soap. So it's all Fight Club style, you know, caustic lye. And it does burn. Burns like hell. So you keep scrubbing, get it all clean. And as you can see, process isn't perfect, but come on. I'm gonna zoom out real quick. I'll bring it up to you. It's not coming in. But anyway, there we go. If you got any parts that need to be touched up, you can use an X-Acto knife and scratch it out. Next part of this is continuity checking. Okay guys, now for the next part, continuity testing. Don't go cheap on a multimeter. Make sure you have one that has that open loop tester or signal, because what you're going to do is you're going to test your contacts. Oh, and make sure you have good points too. I'm being quick because my battery's not in the best of shape, and I think my card's getting full. I'm going to go around to each one of your contacts and make sure you don't have contact. Oh, I'm on the same trace, so that's good.
as you can tell. All right. Next part.